in Johnstown here in our other building. We just completely restored that about 3 years ago. I'm a diehard, but even I was beginning to wonder. We had it so far apart, is it ever going to be put back together? But it's known as a Bernie safety car, and it was designed that one person could operate it so that you could eliminate the need for having the conductor. So that saved the trolley companies a salary by having only one person running the car. Now, in competition with that, this was built in the 1920s, 1925. The PCC car here that we're seeing from Philadelphia was built in 1947. And PCC stands for President's Conference Committee. And it was designed because people were riding, or this was the car that would have been running, but people were taking their own automobile because they could afford it, and it gave them the flexibility to just come and go as they could. So the presidents of various trolley companies got together and said, we need to come up with a way to get riders to get back. So they totally revamped the trolley car. Some would say it looks like a bus. The operator, in fact, sits down to run it, and through pedals and linkages underneath, it controls it's still electrically powered. It has a more streamlined look, of course. And this is a later model of the car. In the they started building the PCCs in the early 1940s, but this is a 1947 model because in the early years, the early versions, people would have to hunch down. Is my stop coming up here? If they're standing on the car. And they came up with this idea, let's put windows up there. So these are known as standee windows, so a really great idea. This car has been restored to its late 1950s, early 1960s condition, both inside and out. It is an operating car, and if you're in the area next weekend, it'll actually be out operating for that. So we'll come back inside here, a couple other cars. Watch your step going by this open door here. If you look at the pictures on the inside the 311 there, you can actually see how far apart we had it.
Oh, okay.
We actually hot riveted new steel siding on, put a new floor in, new wiring, canvassed the roof. That's a big piece of canvas that is, you can see, tacked down there, and then waterproofed, of course. But even I was wondering, is this ever going to get back together? It did. So
can I step in there later and take a picture?
How long are you going to be here? Because we could.
I don't know.
We could. They were working on it. I got to check to see if it's done. Because if it's done, we could take it out.
Oh, okay. That would be good.
The Brill Company actually built trolleys for around the world. The J.G. Brill Company, they were the world's biggest trolley builder. This is an example of 1904. It was built in Philadelphia, but it ran in Portugal, actually the same city as the car we just got off from. So, yes?
Look what I found.
Found a piece of bone or a slag. So the Brill Company built this in 1904. It's the same kind of design as the car we just rode, except it was built with 8 wheels. So it's a much smoother ride. This car was built by the Brill Company 29 years later. It's known as a bullet car. So totally different car by the same car builder, but they had to keep up with whatever the trolley companies wanted. This is one of 10 built in the world. It's known as a bullet car, and you can, because of the tapered ends here, this ran on the Philadelphia and Western Railroad Company, which is now the Route 100 line of SEPTA.
Look what I found.
Another piece of rock. You collect rocks? So in 1931, the P&W was really suffering from ridership. People were taking the train, their own private automobiles. They needed to come up with a radically designed trolley to try and reduce operating costs and get the passengers there faster. So they actually used wind tunnel testing with models, mock-ups, to come up with the most aerodynamic design and something that would electrically be very reasonable to operate. So they came up with this design, the bullet car. It's one of 10 built in the world. This is the only place that one is still running. It's still in the SEPTA paint scheme, but it still runs. This would do 85 miles an hour.
Really?
But it had to stop every mile or two because the whole line was only 14 miles long. So they had station stops every mile or so. So you had to have fast acceleration and fast deceleration to be able to make the station stop. So, and this car could do it. In the last years of it being on SEPTA, they put digital speedometers on, and I was on it, and it was doing 78 miles an hour, 2 of them coupled together. Because you could run 3 of these coupled together through that coupler there, and one person would run them all. So Watch your step going by here. This sticks out a little bit here. We got a couple other unique cars. Watch, that's new. That wasn't like that the last time I was here the other week. Now I mentioned about the semi-convertible design, I think, and the open summer car was quite a popular car, except in the wintertime on the East Coast, because you wouldn't have many happy passengers riding this when it was like 10 degrees out. The passengers loved them in the hot summer weather in 1912 because this was 1912 air conditioning, because you didn't have air conditioning in 1912. So this ran in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We actually brought it back in 1965, spent quite a bit of money cosmetically restoring it and getting it to run. And like your automobile, it sometimes takes a major hit for maintenance work. Well, right now we're in the major hit series syndrome with this. We need to rebuild the running gear underneath the wheels and motors. We're looking at $70,000 there. But the good news is we have a foundation that's going to match our grant, our donations, for $35,000, half of the amount, and we're within $2,000 of raising our portion of that. So we're getting very close, and then we can start work on it. It's going to entail putting the car in the shop, lifting it up, pulling the wheels out, checking all the wheels, the motors. You'll have to get off the car, please, Larissa. Thank you. And then hopefully within 2 years it'll be back out in service. So we just need to do some major mechanical work on it and get it back running. So we have two other cars here. If you like snow, you would probably love this car. Anybody have any ideas what it's for?
Probably clear the track off.
It is to clear the track. Back in the day, people went to work when it snowed. The trolleys ran. The world didn't shut down like it does today. So, you know, the trolley companies, they made their money off of carrying passengers. They didn't get the subsidies that they do today. So they had to run in the snow. So they had fleets of these cars to clear the tracks of all the snow. So this car is our example of that. This broom, it actually revolves around like a giant brush and just blows the snow off the track. They're really quite spectacular to see in operation if, you know, you're able to see it. We actually have another snow sweeper trolley that this car is out of service right now. In our other car barn, we have another one that actually runs. That's one of the perks of being a volunteer. Coming out and sweeping snow and plowing snow. We actually have a snow plow trolley built in 1915 when the snows got really deep. They would send out the plows just like PennDOT today. And we've used it here many times to plow snow here at the museum. So this car here, it looks like a gigantic box car, and it actually is. People would put their parcels on here, their packages, their things like that, and you know, be transported. Milton Hershey had a fleet of these cars. This car is not from Hershey, it's actually from the Detroit area originally. Milton Hershey had a fleet of these cars, and he would use them to carry milk cans from the farmers' fields to Hershey downtown to be used in the manufacturing of the Hershey candy bar. So just an example of what trolleys were used for in many ways. So unfortunately, we do have to turn around and get back out, and we'll go inside of our shop building and show you.